away from Laguna Seca and over to mid-Ohio, but something else kicks off right here. It's the start of a brand new era for the NTT INDYCAR Series. We move for the first time to hybrid engines. We can't wait to get started. Here comes the first ever practice with hybrid engines. Let's join our commentary team for this opening session here for the Honda 200 at Mid-Ohio. It's the INDYCAR Radio Network.
This is Indy Next by Firestone. With live coverage of today's practice, this is the INDYCAR Radio Network.
The Indy Next by Firestone season rolls on, and it comes to Lexington, Ohio for a one-race weekend at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Gilman. Thanks for joining us on the INDYCAR.
North of Columbus, south of Cleveland, it's time for the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio this weekend and practice one with the NTT INDYCAR Series.
6,
We
5,
had a
4.
few sprinkles today. There is a
This is the NTT INDYCAR Series. With live coverage of today's practice, this is the INDYCAR Radio Network.
It's a storied venue, but a vastly different era for the NTT INDYCAR Series. The Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Mark James, Davey Hamilton, Michael Young's on pit road as we get set to practice for Sunday's race, the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. And Davey, the long-awaited hybrid gets unveiled in earnest this weekend.
There we go, right? I mean, it's going to be interesting to follow and to keep track of, and exactly how it's going to benefit some of these drivers, how maybe it's not going to benefit some of these drivers. And just we're going to see so many things and a lot to talk about this weekend. Obviously, Hinch was able to go around a few laps just to kind of get a feel of it and gave me some insight on kind of what to expect. But until they're out there on track, until we see these more of a long-term, big gamble to bring it out in the middle of the season. We all know that. It's a big gamble, but they seem to have enough miles logged. They have a lot of confidence that it's going to go very smoothly, but it's going to be something to watch all weekend.
This was not thrown together since the first test at Sebring in August of 2023. They've tested this at 10 different tracks. 31 drivers have taken part. 21,000 laps have been turned, and over 32,000 miles have been completed in an effort to get this thing on track. So a lot of work's been done.
Yeah, a lot of work's been done, Mark, and no question about it. And they feel very confident. It's just, behind the scenes, sometimes you don't know everything and all the right goods and bads with it, but it seems like they have confidence. If INDYCAR didn't have confidence that it was going to be all good, they wouldn't bring it out in the middle of the season, pretty sure of it. But now, here's another kicker. Is Chevrolet going to have an advantage? Is Honda going to have an advantage? Are they going to be equal again? What's that situation going to look like? How, where are they going to use it? Is it mostly going to be qualifying? Do you think there's going to be a little bit extra when it comes to race time to take advantage of some of your competitors out there? Or does the regen, when you have to regen the system, going to take as much power out of your car as it puts into the car when it's all said and done? Those are a lot of questions to be answered.
Well, bottom line is this. It's a one-of-a-kind collaboration in motorsports because Chevrolet Ilmor helped develop the motor generator unit. Ilmor will assemble and distribute the combined package to teams. Honda helped with the development of the supercapacitor energy storage system. So those two organizations who are fierce competitors in a quest to win Indy and win the championship, they, along with INDYCAR, are very, very involved in the development of this.
No, it was really, got hats off to both. We love Chevrolet and Honda as well. We're both great manufacturers. Great to have them both involved with this series and be able to collaborate and really work together on this program, I think is really outstanding. We've never seen that done before, and they all went on equal footing. They without those two series, without those two businesses or companies, this series wouldn't be where it's at today for sure. And it's always a pleasure to have them involved.
Are you surprised that the unveil happens at this point of the season instead of the offseason?
I am. I am a little surprised, but I know this, Mark, is that they're behind because, as we all know, that they were going to be. It was supposed to start the season out with this series, with this package, and they just were behind, couldn't get it finished in time, so they had to wait till now. A little bit surprised, but like I say, they have to have a lot of confidence that it's going to work out. But I'm interested to find out is this going to be, an advantage for some of the teams and disadvantage for others?
Well, to that end, and a lot of people have speculated that. They said, okay, what about the teams that have had an advantage in testing? But I go back to those numbers I shared, Davey, 21,000 laps turned, but 31 different drivers have been involved.
Yeah, a lot of drivers have been involved. Some teams obviously more than others. Some are going to have a little bit of an advantage. But the good thing is that information has been shared. I think when it first came out, all the teams could be there. For example, I know at Indy, when they went to Indy, there's a few cars there, but every team was invited. Their engineers were invited to come and look at the data, look at what everything was about. And at this point, they've been testing a lot behind the scenes. And matter of fact, for these drivers, they're probably kind of tired of testing. They're probably ready to race it at this point. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. And here's the bottom line: is we just want to make sure that it's equal for everybody, and it's putting on races like we've been putting on. Because Mark, the racing in the IndyCar series is second, and I look at racing. I'm a race fan, so from short tracks to Formula One and everything in between, I watch, and our competition level is just unbelievable here, and our racing's been outstanding.
Probably of those that are happy to finally see this unveiled are good friends at Firestone, because they developed the formulas for the tires throughout the course of the season, thinking that we would have it going all the way back to St. Petersburg, and now those two disciplines are going to match up.
Yeah, and that's probably affected our racing just a little bit, because these tires were engineered, as you said, for the heavier weight of the hybrid. It's about 105 additional pounds of weight, and it's farther back in the chassis. So Firestone did what they had to do and made sure they had tires ready, and then all of a sudden, whoops, it's not ready for the first race, but their tires were already made. So Firestone, they did what they had to do. And by the way, we've been back to what I'm saying. Our races have been absolutely outstanding. They've done a great job with the tires. So now it's the hybrid tire going to match with this hybrid engine and car.
Well, as we mentioned, Mid-Ohio, and it is a cloudy day, and it looked as though the skies were going to threaten for a little while. I know there might have been a little mist here and there, but all in all, Michael Young, from a weather standpoint, looks like Mother Nature is going to cooperate throughout the course of this weekend.
Boy, it was an odd little cell that came through. It looked like a line of storms going from Cincinnati all the way up to Cleveland, but it split as soon as it got to the track and turned out to be a wonderful day. The track temperatures dropped a couple of degrees since that Indy Next by Firestone practice session, now 97. Ambient, though, about as nice as you want it, because it could be sultry here at Mid-Ohio, 78. So the fans enjoying a beautiful day, as you guys have been discussing, the unveiling of the hybrid, and each and every car has IndyCar hybrid decals on the attenuator to usher in this new era of IndyCar racing.
Interesting to note, Davey, that you talk about a level playing field. I think pretty much everybody has a quote-unquote clean sheet of paper about Mid-Ohio, between the hybrid and the fact that we've had a repave here.
New repave as well. This track, the configuration, you look at the track, and it definitely looks no different. Looks like the curbing wasn't even changed, because the elevation change looks the same. The track looks identical. But from what the drivers say, very, very smooth out there. There has been races on this facility since, the repave, so there's a lot of rubber down on the racetrack already. So pretty exciting to get out there myself and just feel how smooth it is and how different it is. But we do know this, a lot more grip in some of these corners, especially on the exits, being able to get power down. And when the car's a little bit heavier, it seems like a driver, he tries to make up for maybe a little bit of speed himself, and that it's usually in the corner. So as we watch Sowery back in Toby Sowery.
Yeah, how about Toby Sowery?
Yeah, he's back on track right now, getting laps as a rookie, pretty much by himself out there, just kind of clicking those laps out at a 111.7 right now. The only car that has taken a time so far.
I think, Davey, he was one of those guys when he was in the Indy Next by Firestone. Toby Sowery is one of those guys that we really felt had a pretty bright future, because he was awfully competitive when he ran in that series.
Yeah, very competitive. And unfortunately, a lot of times there's good drivers that don't have seats, and I mean that's probably more than not. That you could, if every driver decided to retire out of the IndyCar series right now, there's plenty of good drivers that could fill every single seat immediately. So that just goes to show you that they're valuable seats to have. They're hard to get into, and Sowery was one of those ones that just kind of nothing was available when it was his turn to step into IndyCar. But now he does have this opportunity with Del Coyne. Been struggling a little bit this year. A lot of different drivers in that car. And the worst thing for Coyne, they're not in the leader circle points right now.
With either car.
Leader car, yeah.
So the British driver currently racing in the LMP2 class of IMSA, the Michelin Endurance Cup. He finished second at the 24 Hours of Daytona. They liked his performance in the 12 Hours of Sebring in his debut. In addition to competing in the Fanatec GT World Series, he's also raced and won LMP2 and Asian Le Mans Series this year. So he's been behind the wheel of a lot of different race cars.
Yeah, he sure has. Just picked up one more second. Every lap that he goes out there, he takes about a second off his time, 1:10.6. Now, we're going to see him definitely faster than that, but a pretty good job right now for Salary out there with this new combination and back in IndyCar trying to cut some laps.
We will have more throughout the course of the weekend on the perspective of those involved in the development of this hybrid. With the Chevrolet perspective, here's Michael Young.
Yeah, with Mark Stilo, Director of Motorsports Competition Operations. An exciting era, not only for Chevrolet, but for the IndyCar Series as well. The unveiling of this hybrid system, been a long time coming, and I know a lot of work has gone into this project, Mark.
Yeah, so it's been a big effort on both Honda and Chevy's behalf. So, like, we really, it's kind of the IndyCar, Roger asked us to put a program, help pull in the partners to put this together. And over the last 18 months, we've been leaned into this pretty hard on our Ilmore friends and our counterparts at Honda to get this thing up and running.
It is a rarity to have two fierce competitors work together on a project like this. What was it like working with Honda, and how well did the two work together getting this project put together?
I mean, the Honda guys are great because they're seasoned competitors like we are, and we jumped in and we kind of we knew the areas that need to be hardened. We ran into problems. There was some little debates back and forth, some tension, healthy tension. So, but no, both sides, knew how to put proper race cars together, knew how to build race engines, and just kind of transmit that over to MGU and a good battery pack, and you got a reliable system.
The system, of course, being unveiled this weekend, but we're just seeing the beginning, if I understand correctly, of this hybrid, not trying to do too much, but the growth and the capability pretty much endless.
Well, I mean, we wanted to have a system that was self-contained in the bell housing. We wanted to have a system that was low voltage, so wouldn't have some of the challenges of a high voltage system. So right now we're running it, where it's effective, but I think there's room for growth in the future.
Is it like watching a child being born to finally have this out here on track and competing this weekend?
A little bit. I mean, we had a false start with the previous system, so we kind of had to do a little bit of a melt and repour. And but again, great partners, people knew what they were doing, could get to a solution pretty quickly.
Well, we're looking forward to not only seeing it this weekend, but to see it for down the road. It really is exciting, and congratulations to you and Chevrolet, and of course the folks at Honda as well, for working together and being able to put this together for us to see. Job well done.
Thank you very much.
That's Mark Stilo from Chevrolet, guys.
Yeah, thanks to Mark and the folks at Chevrolet for their accessibility and sharing that insight with our listeners. And great stuff, Davey. And again, just kind of re-emphasizing and reiterating what we had already stated, the fact that unbelievable level of cooperation between those two organizations, Honda and Chevy.
Yeah, really a great job by both of them. As they said, there was some, and you can just imagine, right, two manufacturers that are both champions, both winners in multiple series of sports, and then working together, and there obviously some tension there, but he said it was healthy, and they came up with the best package possible. And you can just imagine with Honda and Chevrolet and all the intelligent people they have, this package is probably the best that's ever been done between those two companies.
38 years of marriage, I'm used to healthy conversations and back and forth, and
that's right.
Yeah. A little give and take here and there.
Give and take.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we have access to a lot of graphics here.
Yeah.
A lot of data here, and you pointed out to me one of the things that has been added to our screens. We know exactly where the status is in terms of what the drivers have available to them now in terms of that energy.
Yeah, so one thing with the energy, 100% of it, you could use it in several passes. You can use it twice a lap. But that energy is going to go away in that one lap. So you got to recreate that. And how to do that is you'll have a paddle that you can, well, several ways, whether it's a paddle, a button, a foot lever. There's different ways that each team could do it. But as you activate that, it puts more pressure on the drive axles of these cars. And that actually slows you down a little bit because the extra resistance on those rear axles to charge it up, but it's going to charge it up to that 100% again, and then you'll be able to use it several times or wherever you would like to. But it's going to be, the trick is how we figure out how much slower does it take to charge the car. Now, it charges under braking as well, so that's another good area to do it. Matter of fact, we're going to look at Rinus VeeKay right now. He's at 25% right now. He just pulls in the pit area right now, though. So he did use some down that back straightaway because he was at 100%. So, kind of just go along with us. We're going to learn this as well as everybody else on how to read this and how to try to translate it on to our listeners.
Should make mention, too, that unit is disabled from pit in to pit out.
That's right. So when you enter the pits, the pit line there, when you hit the speed limit, it is disabled from there until you leave the pit area again. Now, another thing that you should be able to do when you're in that pit lane, they are required to use what we call the starters of today, where you plug into the back of the car, you fire the car up, and you take off. When you're on the racetrack, if your pack is full, there's enough energy to fire your car up and be able to take off again. One other tricky thing, the gearboxes do not have a reverse in them like the gearboxes of just last week had. There's a system that you go through to where the hybrid part of the engine package is your reverse. So you put it in first gear, and it goes in reverse rotation to back you up. So it's a whole sequence to get into reverse. So we're going to see that. We see people go off track. They can't go forward, so they're going to try to get reverse. It's going to be interesting to see if they have enough power to be able to do all those things, plus start the car. It should be safer. It should be quicker, maybe not as many reds, because if somebody comes to a stop and can't start it, period, we always throw a red to get them out of harm's way.
But again, if it stalls in the pits, you will not be able to restart it yourself. They'll have to use the traditional starter.
They have to use the traditional starter, correct.
Yeah. So news in terms of the silly season. Headlines being grabbed again by Errol McLaren. Former Indy 500 champion Alexander Rossi will be racing somewhere else next year. We don't know where. What we do know is who will be in that car. Christian Lundgaard departs Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing.
Yeah, pretty interesting. We know the talent that Lundgaard has. We thought that, I personally thought that the McLaren stable was pretty much set after they put Siegel in it in the last few races and said, hey, he's here for a while. He's a young kid. We've always had interest in him. But now it's changed. Rossi's out, and as you said, Lundgaard is in. So that leaves an empty spot over at Rahal. Is that where... we heard Vips probably.
Well, Yuri Vips has been with the team for a while.
Yeah, they've been in there. They really like him, and I feel like that is the direction that they're more likely going to go. As you just said, where does that leave Rossi? Not sure, because it seems like the teams that could just go out and automatically win. Any team could win. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Any team can't get the job done. But you just got to look at the history book on who does the majority of the winning and who the powerhouses are right now. There's no seats available for Rossi in those. Not, so it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up.
Number of published reports, interviews with Alexander Rossi seemed as though it boiled down to contract length and not necessarily numbers.
Yeah, right.
Which every driver wants security, wants to know where they're going to be for the foreseeable future. He did seem very optimistic, said he's very excited about the opportunities that he feels like he has, and understandably so. A race winner, come close to winning a couple of championships, and as we mentioned, an Indy 500 winner who's still got a lot of laps in him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
As far as Rahal Letterman Lanigan, they released a statement saying Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing is looking forward to closing out our working relationship with Christian Lundgaard as successfully as possible. We thank him for his past efforts on behalf of the team. We are proud to have brought him into the NTT IndyCar Series and wish him well in the future. How difficult of a scenario is it when you have so many races left in the season, you already know a driver's moving on?
Yeah, well, the good side of that is everybody can prepare for it, and that leaves Rahal Letterman with the opportunity to go find somebody that they really want in the car, and it's not last second. Some of the better drivers maybe aren't taken at that time. So, but then again, if you go about it as a business, which this is, and say, hey, we still want to win races, and we want to win with you, and vice versa, and he wants to get Rahal Letterman some wins, even though the future, it's still about being successful and doing well, and trying to improve the team or that driver trying to win races. So it's an advantage to everybody for them to go for it and still try to win.
So you think he'll be in the same meetings? They'll have the same conversations with the engineers. They'll speak the same language that they've always spoken.
I don't think there's any secrets at this point. He pretty much knows where everything is, and then if there's anything new that comes up or any new strategies or any new setup information, maybe not that, but at this point in the season, pretty much all that's been laid out. There won't be any big changes till wintertime, and I really think that, that they'll be in a situation where they still want to go win races. And we kind of seen that when we really thought Blow was going to go to McLaren, and he was with Ganassi. He's still winning races and getting the job done, and then ends up staying at with Ganassi. So you just never know.
Yeah, I would say that as cool as that relationship was, it started to warm up when Chip kept having to meet him in Victory Lane.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the first time we talked to him in a while.
Yeah, so with more on all of that, let's hear from Gavin Ward of Arrow McLaren. Michael Young.
Yeah, the team principal joins us. Any other news that we need to know about? I mean, every time we turn around, something new has a change in the Arrow McLaren camp, but this is exciting news for this team moving forward into 2025.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm hoping done with the big news right now. That might be our big news now.
How did the discussions begin with Christian? Obviously, we heard about middle part of the season or before the 500 that he might be one of the dominoes for 2025 and changing teams. And obviously, you guys have been working with Alexander about contracts throughout this whole time, and that wasn't able to be worked out. When did the discussions with Christian really start happening?
I think as is pretty normal, you're kind of touching bases with a number of drivers in the paddock from time to time just to see where people are at. So I think, frankly, probably that started last year when we first got sort of dropped in the mess with Polo not honoring his contract, and at that point, it was clear that Lundgaard, we understood the status of Lundgaard's agreement, that he had another year on it, and that was probably the first communications there. But to be honest, we've had quite a lot of obviously quite a lot going on in the driver realm, more than we wanted. A lot of that out of our own control, but with the agreements we've had, there was always kind of potential openings. So I'd be lying if I didn't say that he's been on our radar for a while.
It's been interesting watching the dynamic of this team, and now it will be completely flipped on its lid. Now Pato, Nolan, and Christian. Is it ever a consideration personalities, or is it just trying to get the best drivers that you can get?
Absolutely. I think in this series it's so tight, and you need a team that works together. You want your guys to be leveling each other up. And you know what? Frankly, that was part of the discussion here. Look, Alex done a great job this year, and I fully expect him to be on the grid in IndyCar next year, and I'm looking forward to that. But we were looking for a little healthier dynamic, particularly in qualifying on one lap pace, to try and what I think the best teams have is one driver is good in this corner, another driver is good in that corner, and they all learn off each other and they get better and better and better. And I just didn't feel like we've had that this year for one reason or another. Some of those things outside of our control. It's difficult having rookies. So we're going to take the pain with, bringing a rookie up to speed this year, so we can go into next year, put in a guy we know is really super fast. I'm sure, and cultivate that team environment for collaboration. A healthy competition, but a lot of collaboration.
Looking forward to 2025. Maybe next time we discuss maybe going to dinner instead of all these changes with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just talk about racing.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you for your time as always.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
That's Gavin Ward, team principal for Arrow McLaren.
Yeah, appreciate the insight for sure. And Davey, if we've talked about it once, we've talked about it dozens of times, and it sounded like that there's a lot of healthy respect and admiration there for Alexander Rossi, but maybe they felt like that maybe some shift needed to be made in terms of, you heard him say, their approach to qualifying and their ability to to exchange data between the drivers.
Yeah, and one thing for sure is we can tell you that Lundgaard, he's a qualifier. I mean, he's a great racer in general, as you said, but he really shines in qualifying. We feel he's an all-around, I feel he's an all-around racer and get the job done as he finds himself P2 right now in this practice session as Malukas finds himself on top of the charts.
So let's run through the 19 cars that have turned laps now. David Malukas, as Davey just suggested, is the fastest. He has turned a lap at 68.207. Then Joseph Newgarden jumps to P2. Lundgaard is third. Then Nolan Siegel is fourth. Linus Lundqvist is fifth. Now Will Power pops to P1. Lundqvist sixth. Seventh Ericsson. Eighth Rosenqvist. Ninth Simpson. Rasmussen 10th. 11th Rahal. 12th Toby Sowery. 13th is Fittipaldi. Ferrucci 14th. Kirkwood is 15th. 16th, Robb. 17th, McLaughlin. 18th, Canapino. Dixon, 19th. VK, 20th. 21st, Harvey. And Armstrong is currently 23rd now. 23 of the 27 cars entered have turned laps. And Davey, normally this first session on Friday, we wait until there's about 45 minutes remaining in the session before we see all the takers. Of course, those rookies get that extra set. No such luck for the veterans, but certainly these veterans not wasting any time taking advantage of track time.
Yeah, another thing that they do on this first session would be the red alternate tires from Firestone. The qualifying tires, we call them the softer compound tire. Would they give opportunity to run them later in this session as well?
So, as we mentioned, your top five: Will Power, Malukas, Newgarden, Kirkwood, and Christian Lundgaard, the top five. Okay, we know all about the repave. So tell us about the challenging aspects to this race course. We think the signature portion is, of course, the keyhole. You want to get through there as close to full song as you possibly can, even though that's next to impossible, because you want to make that long descent through 3, up to 4, and then set up for the S.
Yeah, that's right. We'll start with turn 1, going from the final turn. Oh, Newgarden, he gets off of, looks like the turn 10, and spins that thing around and gets it going. Yeah, don't know if he stalled it or he had to restart it. Don't know that yet, but got it going, pulled it in the pit area. But we'll start with this track. It's a great opportunity to fill out all your skills, because going down into turn 1, super fast left-hander right there, good opportunity to pass coming off of 13 into turn 1. And I'd say that probably your second best place to pass. And then coming off of turn 1, keep it straight, going down into turn 2, which is, like I say, that keyhole down there that is basically a hairpin. And coming off of that one, Mark, turn 2, going down that back straightaway, which is actually the start for the race in that back start. Yeah, the starting line. And turn 3 is a little bit of a kink, but we've seen him go down into that turn 4. I mean, side by side, sometimes 4 wide. We've seen a lot of action, unfortunate action, like Simon Pagenaud when he lost his brakes, flipping down through there at one point. And then you crest the top of a hill in turn 5. Then you drop off down into turn 6. And from turn 6, 7, 8, 9 are all blind corners. And then turn 10 is a super fast left-hander. That brings you onto the kind of where we see on the front switch, where a red flag out right now. Yeah, 78. That is Canapino. He has blown a lot of smoke out. Looks like engine issues on that 78 car.
Out of the rear of that car, Augustin Canapino is trying to limp that thing around, and it looks like it's going to roll to a stop, and that's right around turn 3, Davey, coming out of the keyhole and back downhill.
Correct. It looks like that's where he is right now with that car. Looks like it happened coming off of that turn 1, and they actually see fire on the right side of that car with a lot of smoke pluming out from underneath of it as he's going down in turn 3 right now. Looks like he has everything shut off. Still smoke down there. Don't say a fire any longer, but and don't have any idea what that situation could be, but smoke coming out both sides of that car.
Well, all the fuel strategies and tire strategies and the numerous restarts, there was one constant throughout the course of the race at Monterey a couple of weeks ago, Davey, the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. It all belonged to Alex Palou when the day was done.
Yeah, it sure did. I mean, what an exciting race, by the way, Mark. I mean, he doesn't get the lead right off the bat. It goes to Kirkwood, goes on the outside of him, which was a bit of a surprise, and then Kirkwood kind of checked out, and then all of a sudden, guess what we have? So we have some fuel strategy, a lot of fuel strategy issues, actually.
Yeah.
Leaving Palou out in front while a lot of his competitors, Colton Herta, Kirkwood, a lot of those fast guys, and Grosjean out front thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to work, and even Newgarden. And by golly, it did. He kept out long enough where he came out in third place, but after his pit stop, he made up that much time in third position, was able to have better tires and more fuel to run full rich the rest of the race. It was able to pull off another dominant win there at that racetrack.
We'll have more on that. I can't tell you for now, though, besides his win a couple of weeks ago and in 2022, he finished second in 2021 and third in 2023. So clearly he's a big fan and would love to run more races during the season if possible at that historic racetrack. Michael Young.
Yeah, the PPG guys looking at the under tray of Joseph Newgarden. Looks like no harm, no foul with that off that he has. And everybody, of course, back to pit lane because of the issue with Augustine Canapino. And just walking up and down pit lane, guys, just noticed, and it's not heavy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's starting to sprinkle enough so that you feel raindrops. And I'm looking at one of the puddles here on pit lane, and it's actually starting to come down a little bit harder. I should say more so than it has at any other time we've been out so far this afternoon.
Yeah, we see AMR IndyCar safety crew. Not only are they out checking that area around that car to make sure that no fluid was laid down, but they're also looking up and down pit road, making sure that that thing's not getting any slicker. In addition to Palo's mastery, Davey, Alexander Rossi finished third in that race, and Roman Grosjean was fourth. That's the best finish for that team in the series, and Kyle Kirkwood rounded out the top five.
Yeah, Kirkwood did a good job all weekend and really had an opportunity to win that race, finds himself in the front row, leads some laps. So, you know, it's going to happen for him, no question. Which he's won. We know he can, but that was one of his favorite racetracks, obviously. We'll see how he does here at Ray Hall. How about right now top the charts with Ray Hall, which is his home track?
Badly needed solid finish at that race 2 weeks ago for Colton Herta, too. He finished second.
Yeah, you know, Colton, you know, we've seen how tough he was and thought maybe he had some. Matter of fact, the second to last restart, he actually got up beside Palou. I thought, oh, he may have a little something for him. Wasn't to be, and then the next time Palou, he wouldn't allow him to get up there, but did a really good job. Colton fell back from Palou, but he had to, you know, those two guys are probably the two to watch every time we go to that race course.
So again, Graham Rahal is currently the fastest. Looks like 67.745. And then Rosenquist, Kirkwood, Power, Malukas, the top five. Newgarden, McLaughlin, Lundgaard, Siegel, and Lundquist, the top 10. Erickson, Grosjean, Fittipaldi, Simpson. Toby Sowery in the 51 machine this weekend for Dale Coyne is currently 15th. 16th Rasmussen, 17th Armstrong, 18th Canapino, 19th Ferrucci, 20th Dixon, 21st Robb, 22nd O'Ward, 23rd is Harvey, and 24th is Reedus VK. And about this venue, Davey, been here under the stewardship of the Truman family for many, many years. Green Savory has had it since, 2011, I think.
Yep.
And boy, I'll tell you, it continues to be a fan favorite. And, you know, some, quite frankly, were a little concerned about the move a few years ago to this particular holiday weekend. But as I was driving in, it certainly hasn't affected the campground attendance at all.
I came in as you did. We early morning out of Indy, coming straight in here, and I'll tell you, pretty impressive when we show up here. How many people are here on this practice day? And I'm sure there's a campsite available, but I don't know where it's at because they sure look like they're pretty packed full.
Well, and I know, you know, not only the more traditional camping and a lot of folks going into and out of the keyhole, that area over there is very popular, but I know there's been some long-timers that have camped down there in Thunder Valley. A cool place to be as well.
What a great place to be. Obviously, we've all been back down there, and that's a good place to take a golf cart at nighttime because the parties are on. They're having a lot of fun, but then when it's race time, they're all out for sure, watching what's happening on track. And still right now trying to look at it looks like they're looking for any fluids on the track right now, Mark. They got the car covered. They put a belly sheet underneath the car to where they lift it up. So obviously some fluids coming out of that car. Like I say, until it gets back to the pit area, the garage area, you don't know exactly what's happened, but definitely some internal issues on that 78 car.
Sixth position grid penalties going into the race weekend as announced by INDYCAR earlier today, Davey. The 11 of Marcus Armstrong, the 30 of Pietro Fittipaldi, and the number 60 of Felix Rosenquist for unapproved engine changes following the June 27th team test at Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, pretty interesting because it's a team test, and so you know, they have rules on how long you can go on the engines. And, you know, I'd like to look at that a little differently and to say, hey, if these manufacturers, they have a fierce battle for points at the end of the season. And I always thought that if it's an engine issue and a team didn't have anything to do with it, that you shouldn't penalize the team. But obviously that's the way it is right now, and sometimes I feel it's a little bit unfair, but as long as it's safe for everybody, and you just hope you don't get one of those penalties.
Well, it has gone back and forth over the years.
It has
Once
gone
upon
back
a time,
and forth,
the points did come off the Manufacturers' Championship.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, it was a 10-spot grid penalty.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so just as long as it all works out at the end and doesn't really benefit or hurt anybody is the best thing.
Michael Young.
With Augustin Canapino, he's back in the pit lane, and of course Ricardo Junco's having a conversation with him quickly, and as soon as they wrap it up, we'll be able to speak with Augustin there, just discussing what had happened. And Augustin, obviously a frustrating session. You never want to go out this early, especially with a new repave on the track. Any idea of what happened with the car?
I had some fire. There's a reason I was looking for a safety crew. I don't know, something is broken.
So the engine potentially let go, or something else, do you think?
I don't know. So we need to wait. The engine looks okay. Maybe something with the new system, but I don't really know. We need to see.
Okay, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
That's Augustin Canapino.
Yeah, the head scratcher for the team, and they'll pour over it, check that out. We can still see AMR IndyCar safety crew officials. Looks like, Davey, they're making motions to climb back into their respective vehicles. Maybe it looks like the amount of fluid, if any, laid down in that area of the racetrack was minimal.
Very minimal. They walked down the front straightaway right in front of our booth, and nothing happened, and so nothing down, but they want to check every part of this racetrack. Clock is still running, 42 minutes left for these teams, so plenty of time to get some more speed, but it looks like the track is okay, no fluids on the track.
Speaking of Iowa Speedway, we mentioned it. There was a test there recently, and the fastest unofficial time in the full field test was nearly a second quicker than Will Power's fastest qualifying lap of a year ago. His second lap in sweeping the two poles was 17.7246. That's 181 miles per hour. And so, again, it's going to be a fast racetrack with the new repave.
With the new repave on. Now, it's not a completely new repave, but it's in the corners. Looks like the first line's completely done. Second line, there's a little bit, and some even on the excess of the third line. So they say very smooth, very fast. I listened to Pato's interview on it. He's a little worried about it's so fast now is how are we going to be able to pass because the preferred line's on the bottom of the racetrack. So, but you know what? These guys all figured out. We're going to go to the short track days, put a little Coke syrup and Clorox and put it upstairs, let them grip it in. But they'll end up running up high and getting some good groove, some good stick down.
Well, I mean, Graham Rahal was one of those that said that the conditions were nearly ideal, and he said it's ideal for fans and drivers alike. He said, you know, the ideal scenario would be for temperatures to be in the mid-70s, but Iowa recently has not been in the mid-70s when we've been there. And he said he thinks with that repave, if it heats up, which we expect it to, that's really going to have an adverse effect on the tire deg.
Yeah, that's right. The tire deg is something you're going to definitely have to watch. And anytime that you go faster than expected, that generates more tire wear, more heat in that car. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now, like I say, we're so used to, well, at times it was free wide racing for lap after lap around that 7/8 mile course. And, you know, one seat, so you can see every little thing. So it's an exciting racetrack. It's a lot of fun to obviously drive. A lot of fun for these fans to watch on, and it's going to be a great event. So doubleheader.
So now the question would be, okay, if after that test it's determined that maybe either more downforce needs to be put in the car or downforce needs to be taken off the car. Is that a frustrating scenario for the teams? Because does that make them feel like that all of those laps that they've turned in that test are, wasted essentially?
Yeah, they're not wasted, but yeah, definitely. There is a little track fluid or a little fluid on the track. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's really low off of turn 3. You're not down in that part of the racetrack, but a little right where he came to a stop, looks like a little fluid came out. But back to the Iowa question of that those laps are important, and if they take a little away or downforce wise or add a little bit to it downforce wise, it's going to change it some, but you still have some really good data to go off of.
And we said Toby Sowery's in the 51 this weekend. Interested to note that Catherine Legg turned laps for Dale Coyne in that 51 car at Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, and I think she is the driver from what I understand at that race, unless something changes. And so that'd be a new adventure for her. That's, like I say, it's really fast, technical racetrack. Being a doubleheader, it's very, very physical, so you have to be in really good shape. As we're looking down on the Plo car right now, we can see what Michael was telling us, just a few drops on that aero screen as far as moisture, but not enough to have to go to rain tires.
So 39 minutes remaining in this single session today, and a busy day tomorrow at 9:40 Eastern. The second Indy Next practice session gets underway. Then at 10:50, the second practice session for the NTT IndyCar Series. And then Indy Next qualifying at 2:15 Eastern, and then 3 o'clock We'll go qualifying with the knockout qualifying format of the Firestone Fast 6. And then on Sunday at 10:25, the final warm-up session, 30 minutes for these teams and drivers at 11:10. The only Indy Next race of the weekend. And then at 1 o'clock Eastern, you can join us for coverage along the usual outlets of the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. And Davey, talking about Indy Next presented by Firestone. Can anybody slow down Louis Foster?
Well, that's going to be the question, but I have to say, after watching this morning's practice session, Foster was fast, but there were 5 or 6 other really fast cars up there as well. Christian Brooks, the rookie, taking over that ride and only been there a couple times, find themselves in the top. We see a lot of fast drivers, so it's going to be interesting to see.
As we mentioned, Toby Sowery piloted a car for Dale Coyne this weekend, Michael Young.
With Dale Coyne and Toby Sowery in the 51 this weekend. An interesting choice, and we haven't heard from Toby in quite some time. When did the discussions begin for this?
Well, he hasn't been here, but he's not forgotten. So, no, he's talked about it. He did a test with Ray Hall last year, and they were impressed with him. And, you know, we talked a couple months ago and put this together, and it's a good opportunity for him.
It's a fantastic opportunity. Any idea of how long he's going to be around or how many races he will be in the 51?
We're just getting through this one right now and see how it goes, and then we'll see. There's 2 more road courses to do after here, so we'll see where it all ends up.
And for the ovals for you, who do we expect to see in the 51, or is that something we have to wait and see?
Catherine will be in next week at Iowa, and we'll see about after that, yeah.
Okay, sounds like a winner. Any fun facts or food for thought you'd like to share with us? We haven't talked to you in quite some time.
No, just happy to be here at Mid-Ohio, you know, and we just tested in Iowa. That's an important state. It can feed the world. We're in Road America. They can cheese the world. So we're here in Ohio. We can Buckeye the world.
There you go. All right. Appreciate the time as always.
Yep, no problem. Thanks.
All right. You hear the engine starting to be fired here on pit lane. Hopefully get back to green here momentarily.
He's a racer in every sense of the word, Dave.
Yeah, I love Dell, and I'd love to see him getting back on track and getting the funding that he needs as a racing team to put him back towards the front of the field and in victory lane. So great to have him. He's been doing this a long, long time. You look at how many owners have stuck around as long as him. It's been very few. So it's impressive of him to hang on as long as he has.
All of you oval purists that have been banging the drum for there to be more ovals, Davey, those folks certainly are going to get their wish over the final 2 months of the season.
That's right. And please come and support them, because that's what it's all about. If you want to see the ovals, come and support them, because the reason you want them is because they're exciting, they're fast, they're challenging, they're hard to do. You can sit in one seat and see the entire race course at all these facilities. So all I can say is, man, if we want ovals and you want to fight for them, you need to come out and support them.
I did an interview on a racing show at a radio station in Milwaukee last weekend. And Davey, I can tell you, those folks, they are of the opinion that Christmas is coming early to Milwaukee with the return of INDYCAR racing to the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, he's able to go there for the INDYCAR test and get some rides to media. And man, they're doing a really good job on the media, getting the word out there that the INDYCAR's coming back. And they're excited about it. There are a lot of new media people there that haven't seen INDYCARs there in the past, and they want to see it. They have a new pit lane that's been paved for us. It's going to be fun. And that track, as we know, it's very, very challenging, not easy to race on that place. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun for these drivers.
You know, a cool announcement. Certainly all of us are eternally grateful to the commitment and the working relationship that we have all enjoyed with the folks at NBC Sports. We certainly wish them well moving forward. Excited about the opportunity to join forces with the folks from Fox Sports in next season. But, you know, I think the thing that really added a lot of oomph to that announcement was the fact that the schedule has already been announced. And, boy, we're going back to every racetrack that we visited this year and really have achieved a level of consistency and continuity with our schedule.
Yeah, there's one missing. Well, there's about 4 or 5 missing I'd love to see, but one that I was really hoping to see come back on the schedule, that was Texas, and unfortunately that just didn't get back in the books. That 1.5 miles obviously is a great racetrack, and there's some other ones we'd like to see, but you know what? It's out right now. We have a great schedule. It's a pretty condensed season. You can get to it fairly quickly, and you know, back to, if you want to see the best racing in the world, it's right here in the INDYCAR series, and try to get your schedules ready now.
I told the folks at that station in Milwaukee, I said, your track was, your track there in Milwaukee was one that if I were king for a day, I always wanted us to go back to. The other one, as you and I have talked about before, is Watkins Glen for a number of reasons.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Richmond is one. But, and I know there's a lot of disappointment that leaving downtown Nashville, but you and I both have a history with that oval in Nashville, and we're excited to go back there.
And I'll tell you what, the downtown was exciting. It was fun. I mean, there's a lot there. It'll get back there someday. The Bruschettas, they've taken over that marketing group and put it together. But the only choice they had was that oval right now in Nashville. But it's really not a choice. It's actually a great opportunity because that track, as we know, we've been there before. It's a fantastic racetrack. It's been ran on before. It's not far from downtown. There's a lot of pluses with that, and I'm excited to go there. And I mean, down the road, several years down the road, will we be back downtown? Well, it depends on how good this oval goes. This may be the best thing that's ever happened is going to that oval in Nashville. We'll just have to wait and see.
You want to talk about a place with tire deck? That one has it.
That one has it, yeah. I know they made some changes. A concrete racetrack. It was very rough when we went there. Very hard to pass on the side. They did some diamond grinding. They made it smoother. They made a really good racetrack. It made it a little so the grip wasn't quite there as much. We've been able to go back there and test. I think it's going to be a great racetrack.
I remember with the banking when that track was new, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the things that you guys asked for after you turned a handful of laps, you wanted a blue stripe painted at the bottom of the wall where it met the racetrack so you could see the wall, not run into it.
That was an issue to have stripes bottom and top of that racetrack to try to see the transition points, the warm-up lane, and that wall because of you couldn't tell where the track ended and the wall started, and it was hard to get used to. I like to say loved it. It was at one of those tracks where at the generation of our cars, you're wide open around there at that time for qualifying, but then when it came race time, it was a tire dag and just it was a completely different race. Made a lot of fun.
32 minutes remaining in this session. Graham Rahal continues P1, then Rosenquist, Kirkwood, Power, and Malukas. Newgarden, McLaughlin, Lundgaard, Siegel, and Lundquist the top 10. Ericsson, Grosjean, Fittipaldi 13th, 14th Simpson, 15th Sowry, 16th Rasmussen, 17th Armstrong, 18th Canapino, 19th Ferrucci, 20th Dixon, 21st Robb, 22nd Harvey, 23rd Rossi, 24th Herta, 25th Pillow, 26th VK, 27th Pato Award. So all 27 cars entered this weekend have turned laps. And one of the interesting portions, maybe not the signature portion, Davey, I think, is the carousel, because as you talked about, you want to carry as much momentum there as you possibly can. But boy, we have seen cars lose some grip because there's a little bit of an elevation change at the exit of that carousel.
In the exit of it, because it's a blind corner, and man, you lose a lot of grip going over that. That is an important place to try to find speed. But what do we got going on here? A bit of a traffic jam going on right now into the timeline, which, boy, they're almost stacking cars up right there.
Coming out of
Thunder Valley in that time zone. Always a very dangerous. Look like Ferrucci was flying up there. A couple cars really going slow. This track's 2.2 miles, just a teeny bit over that. And man, not enough room to be slowing down that much when cars are up to speed.
So 30 minutes remaining in this session now. Graham Rahal continues to lead. We'll give you that time at 67.745. Then Rosenquist, Kirkwood, Power, and Malukas the top 5. Newgarden, McLaughlin, Lundgaard, Siegel, and Lundquist the top 10. Pretty good debut for David Malukas at Laguna Seca a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, really good job knowing that he hasn't completely figured out what bracing that he needs for his wrist, and knowing that he was in pain there, knowing that it's going to take a while to get it very strong, but I think he did an outstanding job. Matter of fact, I think he was in the top 10 right at the end, had a little bit of an issue, got ran into at the very end there, and cut a tire, I think it was, but he finds himself fast here right now in that 7th position. Great job. I have a feeling that second seat has not been announced for 2025 over at Meyer & Shank stable, but I think this kid has a really good opportunity to stay in it.
So this race at Mid-Ohio is the 41st IndyCar Series race here. Alex Palou won it a year ago. The very first race in 1980, won by Lone Star JR. And the dominant driver here, Davey, we've speculated before that he might get mail in victory lane. Scott Dixon, a 6-time winner here at Mid-Ohio.
6-time winner. And I can name a couple more that I thought that he was going to win. They just, the circumstances kept him out of victory lane. So you're right. That he really has this place nailed right now. Right now he's down on the speed chart to that 26th spot. But don't rely on that. Then he's going to move up rapidly as he gets some laps in.
The entrance to the S's off of turn number 4. As if turn 4 is not tricky enough, you mark those S's with the change in elevation there.
Yeah.
That, too, is a deceptively challenging portion of the racetrack.
And as you mentioned, with the elevation changes, those corners are blind through there. And when you're cresting, right when you want to get on power and really want to go, the track falls off and you get a lot of wheel spin and really hard to get power down. So it's it's fun to watch. It's fun to drive, actually, but it's very difficult to be fast through there.
Nothing compares to Road America because of its sheer length at over 4 miles. Are there any similarities between this and, say, Barber Motorsports Park?
Yeah, more of a Barber. You're really busy, really physical, busy all the time. You have no time to relax. I think that this has more opportunity, more slow mid-speed corners than Barber. Barber's pretty high speed everywhere you go. But this is with elevation changes and with from the hairpin down there in turn 2, with a fast turn 3 going into turn 4, great passing zone, Thunder Valley. It just has its own characteristics, but it's probably more like a Barber than anything else we go to.
Now, we don't, I think, want to belabor the point of the repay because it happened some time ago, and there has been a lot of racing here, so it has gripped up some.
Yeah, it has gripped up. There's definitely a line around here. But the key point is smooth. I don't think it's one of those tracks that we're just repaved and it's really slick and, we're on board right. Oh, you see a car go off right here. It looks like no, who is that? Can't tell. Got a back view.
It's got a little smoke coming out of the rear of it.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the tire, where he locked the tire up, maybe is where that smoke's coming from. Looks like the top of both tires. He just locked it down. Got some skid marks there. Oh, it's Armstrong.
Yeah, we're looking right at the rear of that race car.
Yeah,
it's a little tough to...
I think it's Armstrong. We're not 100%. Yeah, almost sure. Just went up to P3 at that time. It looks like he slid off at turn 11 and just got way out in the grass. Didn't hit anything right now. The track is still green at this point. He's way off course, but obviously don't know if he has enough power to start that with the hybrid system or not, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to move at this point.
So he continues to sit still, and now, Davey, they decide to throw the red flag. We see Jack Harvey with it off.
Yeah, another off there. That is Harvey. Yeah, exactly. And that 18 car Del Coin. Kind of cars look the same this weekend in that coin camp, and he spun around right there. It looks like he may have he stalled it as well. We'll see if the hybrid start will fire back up. Looks like that's off of turn 2, as you just said. A little hiccup with 2 cars at the same time.
Yeah, and so and as we go to red, we look and see Alex Palou goes to P1, and Alexander Rossi currently second.
Yeah, the guy made a lot of news and not having a ride. We're going to watch a little replay right now. Yeah. Oh, wow. Almost... Yeah, the car must have got loose. He overcorrected, talking about Armstrong, and just locked those tires down, Mark. It looks like it was the smoke off the tires just locked down. Jack Harvey going down in turn 2, just got it too high. Just drove in too high, couldn't get the car slowed down, got up in the slick stuff, spun around, didn't hit anything, so he'll be fine to go on.
Michael Young.
Well, it must be the vortex that we are creating during these sessions, but now that we're back to red, it has started to rain again to the point where it's actually starting to change the color of the asphalt here on pit lane. Not saying it's time to go to wets, but certainly raining a lot harder than it was earlier when we were talking about the rain in Marcus Armstrong's pit box, awaiting that car to arrive, and we'll see what kind of issues they potentially had on the number 11.
So question would be, Michael Young, can you kind of put your head on a swivel and see if those rain tires are already in the pit boxes of these race teams?
They sure are. Everyone has rain tires here. I think we were expecting rain with the storm that was supposedly going to roll through before it actually split apart, but there was nothing on the radar moments ago, and it's actually raining. So go figure technology. I can never figure it out, but yeah, it is raining steadily right now here on pit lane.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what these teams decide to do, Davey, with 24 minutes left. And once we get through this little period of showers this afternoon, late this afternoon, the prognosticators say that this otherwise on Saturday and Sunday should be a picture-perfect weekend.
Yeah, it looks like a great weekend, and it showed this, so no surprise. I mean, it looked like it was going to clear us at one point, and super high clouds, not a lot of rain, as Michael said, popping the umbrellas out right now. Don't know if it's going to be wet enough for those rain tires as they clean up a few cars on the racetrack. And Jack Harvey turned around right now. Should be able to go green here in another minute and a half with 24 minutes left in this session.
And Marcus Armstrong did not have enough to get that car restarted on his own, so the AMR IndyCar safety crew now has the starter engaged to the rear of that car and hope to get him back underway. You know, Davey, with this weekend and all the hype surrounding the hybrid, and I look and I see the aero screen, I know that there's a lot of series out there, and you know, I know that they all have their the hats they want to hang their hats on, things they want to hang their hats on, I should say. But boy, when you stop and think about the safety innovations that we made and how we've beefed up the side pods and things of that nature, and other changes that have been moved, the effort to go green here, in terms of technological advances and innovation over the past 5, 6, 7 years, I think this series has an awful lot to be proud of.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. They have a lot to be proud of, and as Michael said, it's getting a little wet. I see some of the crew shirts down there. Look like they're pretty damp down there right now. But this series, they're nonstop on making sure that the advancements that they make are state of the art. They're ahead of everybody else. They make competition still great. They make, one thing that we always got to look at is cost, right? Try to keep the cost down as much as you can for these teams and drivers, so the budgets don't go out of control. And we just seen another little replay right there with somebody. It looked like must have been Rosenquist coming around a corner, and there's a car slowed way down to get to the timeline without trying to get a run at the timeline, and almost ran into the side of him. And I think that's one thing that we continue to talk about that's going to create more problems than not until race control fixes that. And I think it's a situation. I think to fix it, don't knock it until you have a solution. My solution is when you leave pit lane, you're up to speed. That's it. That you leave pit lane, right. It's time to get to speed, and you got to go for it and wherever you're at. But slowing down like that could have been a huge accident right there. I mean, a huge one. And Rosenquist or Malukas, one of the two, maybe Kirkwood was one of the pink serious cars. They did a masterful job keeping from hitting whoever that was really slow. And it scares me every time I see that. They slow down for that timeline, and cars are trying to get their lap in, and just tough. And by the fact, as Chris Pollock just told us, track is wet all the way around right now, so nobody's going to be going out without the rain tires at this point.
Michael Young.
Yeah, and sitting in the pit box for Marcus Armstrong, a flat spot on that front left tire. But as I look up and down pit lane, there's no hurry to put any rain tires on. The rain tires are out, but they're all sitting here on pit lane. And as you said to your point, Mark, the rest of the weekend looks pretty good. No sense to go out and run those rain tires because we're not expecting any more rain, but we will see. As I look at the number 3 is Scott McLaughlin. That's actually undercover. They put a tarp over the 3 car right now, and then the 45 also umbrellas. So everybody kind of standing around, but in no hurry to put on those rain tires, or at least at this moment.
Christian Rasmussen, Davey, given a 5-minute hold because of what race control called careless actions on the racetrack.
Well, and I have to say, love Christian, love that team, but that is much deserved, because that could have been a huge accident right there. As I just said, it's back to me is when you leave pit lane, you should be going green. If you're not ready to go when you leave pit lane, don't go out. And your team, they know when there's clear spots out there, not when to send you. And this slowing down for the timeline, just trying to get that one lap in. We've seen, in St. Pete first, when Sato comes around the corner and blasts in the back of a car. I think Grosjean and him got together, and it's a dangerous situation right there. And I'll tell you what, one of the pink cars, I don't know which one it is, but they did a great job by missing him.
So I wondered, Davey, something's unfolding here with 20 minutes remaining in this session. This is the Friday practice session.
Yeah.
We have rain, and we can look out of the booth, and we can see the track has indeed changed colors, and we've gotten, our network director, Chris Pollock, monitors race control for us and did share with us that the track is wet all the way around. So what normally happens in the last 15 minutes of this Friday practice session, Davey?
They get those red tires out.
They get those alternates out, and I don't know that they're going to be able to do that under this scenario.
Yeah.
So does that mean the series will give them the opportunity to use them in the practice session tomorrow?
I would say they may do that, Mark. I think that would be a great thing to do. But if they don't, it's the same for everybody. As you see this replay right now.
Yeah, that was
pretty sketchy.
Michael Young.
I was just talking to Brian Herta. I was thinking that very same thing, and he said they Who knows? He just put his arms out and said, who knows? But he said he doesn't remember it happening in the past. But to his point, who knows? Because this session may be a wash, no pun intended, if it continues to rain like it is. It's, again, not a heavy rain. It's just a persistent heavy sprinkle, if you will.
So you and I are thinking alike, Michael? Is that what you're suggesting? That thought
I think
crossed
that's
your mind at the same time?
The first time ever in our lifetimes that has happened. Correct.
I'm going to have to do some introspection and self-reflection there to get past that.
There you go.
That circumstance. But no, that's it just occurred to me. I look up at the clock and I see it rolling. There's 18 minutes left, and you and I have wondered why that they don't have access to those Reds on Saturday and only Friday. But yeah, we can look at our multi-screen monitor. We can see, as Michael suggested, the rain tires are out, but teams just don't look like that they're
well, no real need to do it, right?
Yeah.
We always know what a risk it is to go out on wets and in the rain conditions. And now, if this weekend showed some more rain at any time, I think they'd probably go do it. But when it doesn't show any rain at all this weekend, I just think it's more risk to reward. With only 18 minutes left right now, you're not going to learn a lot. And what little bit you learn, it really doesn't go towards this weekend. And I think it's a situation where you just try to ride it out and leave it where it is. And right now with Plo on top, Rossi, it looks like he's driving for a job right now in that second spot.
I think he'll find something.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident.
The whole thing with him, I think the situation that he'll find a job. It's just, is it where he wants to be? I mean, I think there's jobs out there people would want him, but is it the caliber team that he feels that he needs to be with is going to be the question.
I think they're both, Arrow McLaren and Alexander Rossi are thankful for the 2 years that they've
no
had.
question about it, yeah.
But certainly not the results that all expected when that announcement was made and he moved to that team.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. With no wins at all. And he's been very competitive. Just like right now, we show he's fast. I mean, he gets the job done, no question about it. But I think it's a little disappointment on both sides, his and Arrow McLaren's.
I think it's interesting. He started to be more consistent and have better results. And I think across motorsports as a whole, or across sports as a whole, how many times do you see it when a guy's in a contract year, those results seem to pick up a little bit?
Yeah, and for whatever reason.
And
right,
I'm not suggesting that he's trying harder now.
Right.
I'm not suggesting that,
Well, and you got to remember this. That team's getting better and better and better. They really are. So it's not just all about him, and it's a situation where he's driving for, a ride right now. I mean, this is a very competitive sport. A lot of great race drivers, as I mentioned before, never get the opportunity to even be here that are very, very good, that could win races and win championships. It's a very difficult sport to get into because you have to have the timing right, where rides are available, and try to get yourself in the right situation. And we're, like right now, we're looking at Scott Dixon. He's not going anywhere for a while. I mean,
and let's face it, if the last 2 years have taught us anything, you could go to a team owner and say, hey, is everybody locked up and under contract for next year? They could look at you and say yes, but I don't know that that's meant a lot over the
there's
last
one
couple
team that
of
means
years,
nothing. There's one team, I'm not going to mention who it is, means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. And then there's been a few social media notes about that. Is pretty funny, actually. Pretty funny comments about that. But yeah, you just never know, right? I mean, hey, by the way, I've been in the contract side. There are performance clauses that, whether the team's not performing or the driver's not performing, there are outs. There's always outs, and that's probably the situation in most of the contracts out here.
Well, there's no question that for those that profess to be in the know, as you can attest behind the scenes, there's much more that we don't know about the business side of the
There's
sport.
a lot of private meetings that go on that aren't privy for anybody outside of that meeting. So trust me, they all work hard. They all want to win. They all want the best. They want the best engineers. They want the best teams. They want the best drivers. They want the best sponsors. It's just not easy to get to that point, and especially if it's out in the public.
And again, Gavin Ward, and we'll replay those comments throughout the course of the weekend. I mean, what he suggested is something that you and I have hit upon, and you see it in all forms of sports, not just motorsports. Sometimes it just boils down to a chemistry issue and having the right combination of guys on a race team.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And And when you have that whole package together, which is not easy to get, by the way, it's just not easy to get. But once you have that chemistry of from every crew guy to the engineer to the DAG to the driver and even to the owner on the owner's side, having everything uplifted, everybody's being treated well, everybody's happy where they're at, and winning races. Once you have that combination, you don't want to lose it. And there's back to a guy named Scott Dixon, seems to have had that for a long time.
Kyle Kirkwood, one of those that has gone ahead and put a set of rain tires on, so we will see if he is a taker with the clock continuing to roll with 14 minutes remaining in the session. Rest of the schedule, by the way, to decide the championship looks like this. Enough time to go home, get the clothes washed, get them repacked, and head off to Iowa. Fabulous weekend with all of the entertainment throughout the course of the weekend at Iowa Speedway, July 13th and 14th. Then the 21st of the series will tackle the streets of Toronto for that historic event, and then a couple of weeks off for the teams to kind of reassess and recharge, if you will, pardon the pun, with a switch to the hybrid. But August 17th will resume action at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and then Portland August 25th, and then Labor Day weekend, Davey, doubleheader weekend at the Milwaukee Mile, and then decide the championship, I think, September the 15th at Nashville Superspeedway. I don't know that we'll decide that championship before then.
No, I don't think we will. I honestly don't think we will. And by the way, the two doubleheaders, what great opportunities for fans to come and see two complete races at Milwaukee and Iowa. And by the way, promise you, the two most difficult tracks on our series to do doubleheaders. Yeah. They're very, very physical. They're very fast, very difficult to do. So these drivers and teams, they got their work cut out for one of those.
Update on where things stand with under 13 minutes remaining in the session from Michael Young.
Yeah, it's rain starting to let up ever so slightly to the point where I just feel little sprinkles here and there. A couple of teams do have the wet tires on. One of those, as you had mentioned, Kyle Kirkwood. So too, Alexander Rossi sits here on pit lane with the wet tires on as well. We do see Colton Herta has strapped on red, so if this rain does let up enough that we can get some cars back out on course, Kyle Kirkwood, I should say, Colton Herta will be the first to go out on red. So I think this is the first time I've been doing this where I've seen some guys with wets, some with blacks, and some with reds, yeah. all up and down pit lane. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, for sure. Every type of tire that is available from the Firestone stable, Davey, Michael Young sees being employed on pit road.
And I think that none of them are going to be used. I don't think a clutch would be let out because I think, Michael, you know better than us because you're in the elements. We're just watching it from inside this booth. But to me, it looks so damp that you're not going to learn anything, so wet. It's going to take a long time for this track to dry, and with just under 12 minutes left, I don't think anybody's going to leave it all.
Davey, we talked with the folks from Chevrolet about the hybrid. Obviously, Honda, we know about their involvement in the development of this, but this is the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, and Honda drivers have won 12 of 18 IndyCar races run here at Mid-Ohio since the series returned under the Honda Indy 200 banner back in 2007. That's dominance.
Yeah, it's dominance. Absolutely dominance. No question about it. And we'll see how it all works out again. I mean, that domination could continue on, and it's going to be exciting to watch. Matter of fact, I like the kids. Michael Young, he's covered up in the pits there, and we're covered up. But these kids, they love it. It's raining out. They're out playing, no shoes on, having a good time in the slick grass.
Yeah, and that again, as we've talked about, this is a venue that attracts families, and a lot of people come in here. Some of them as early as Thursday morning and get their campsite set up, and they're here, all throughout the course of the weekend. There was a golf cart parade. People had their golf carts decorated last night. A golf cart parade out on the track for the fans that were here for the patriotic display. Of course, fireworks scheduled throughout the course of the weekend, and I could tell as we see cars leaving pit road. Pato Award headed out, but Davey, we should let the folks know that if you're in the campground here, maybe not tonight because of the wet weather, but certainly tomorrow night, there's a pretty decent chance that a handful of IndyCar drivers could make their way through the campground.
That's right, which is a great thing. These drivers that you normally stay here at the racetrack in their buses and a couple cars going out, which I'm a little bit surprised. They're the ones going out on the wets, not sure what they're going to learn with the 10 minutes left in this session, because it's just not going to be wet for the rest of the weekend. I guess you just go out and make sure that you don't make any mistakes, just get a little bit of wet running in at this point. But we'll see how long they stay out on these wet
Well,
tires.
I think because of the fact that we don't indeed get the opportunity to go out and run in the wets, it's probably all in all, since it doesn't affect the tire stack that you have for the rest of the weekend, Davey. You get an opportunity to go out and test on a wet racetrack. You don't get an opportunity to do that very often. They don't purposely test in the wet. But I'm telling you, Pato O'Ward has his hands full right now.
Yeah, we're watching his hands right now, and I promise you can probably take your rental-car around there faster than he's going right now. I mean, that car is all over the place. And by the way, just know, when you're online, and when it rains and that wet gets on the rubber on the racetrack, it makes it extremely slick. And that's where he's running right now, in that line, in that preferred line, and he is all over the place. We'll see if he moves out of that line a little bit, trying to find a little more traction.
Golly,
He's coming out of the straightaway right now. Look at that. Yeah, he is actually working that thing over right now as he goes down this front straightaway.
And we see Kyle Kirkwood, kind of the same scenario, Davey, as he worked his way through Thunder Valley. And we see Pato right now trying to clear turn one, and that is the living, breathing definition of sawing on the wheel.
That is sawing on the wheel. He's doing all he can. He gets only the third gear. Oh, he's going to, he locks it, almost goes off down at turn two. He does save it, doesn't go off course.
That's tiptoeing, isn't it? That's tiptoeing through a turn right there.
And inches from going off. And once you hit that grass, it is definitely like ice. And he's into fourth gear, fifth gear right now. And actually going pretty good. He gets it up on the limiter. We'll see what his braking zone looks like down in turn four. He gets on the brakes right now. He's down low. He does a pretty good job.
That's a pretty good approach into the S's right there.
Really good approach. You can see a lot of lock going over the top of that turn 5 down the hill. Right now through Thunder Valley, that's where it's going to get slick. You can see he's turning the wheel, but the car's just not wanting to turn right now. And he's in first gear, just barely cruising through that area, normally being third.
Michael Young, you may get the opportunity to chat early with the driver and be able to kind of bail on this session and find drier confines for you, because we see a handful of drivers already exiting the race car. And Davey, outside of Kirkwood and O'Ward, we have not seen any takers with 7 minutes remaining in the session.
Yeah, a lot of cars out of their race cars, as you just mentioned right there. A few of them still sitting in them, but Pato O'Ward, he comes around. Colton Herta has his wets on. He's going to go out right now as well with some wets on. As Pato O'Ward, he pulls in, and definitely didn't improve his time, that's for sure.
So Alex Palou, right before we went red, Davey, we mentioned how dominant he has been of late, and he is trying to lock down another championship. He's been red hot lately.
He has, and leading that championship is right where he wants to be. Got a nice little points lead. You got Power, behind him right there, who, by the way, started a little bit of a deficit at the start of the season, but it's not over. He's got a long ways to go, but you got to remember, he's pretty darn good no matter where we go, whether it's ovals, whether it's road or street courses. So we watch Kirkwood completely sideways coming off on the corners right there. He doesn't spin it out, keeps it going. But the rain, as Michael just said, it's come down pretty hard again.
So we mentioned again that Palou and Power and Dixon trying to gain some measure of separation. With 5 ovals left, we don't know if any distance is safe enough from Joseph Newgarden, as good as he's been on ovals. But again, the teams might not want to take a wait-and-see approach. Those that are 70, 80 points back, they need to start pedaling now, because they're also relying on guys in front of them who aren't notorious for DNFs to have off days.
How would you ever want to bet against those three? Power, Dixon, and Palou.
Yeah.
Pretty tough. And as you said, Newgarden, he's back in the points championship. Gave away a lot of points, actually, the last lap at Laguna Seca, spinning off the race course. And, that gave away a lot of points. As Colton Herta, he didn't even make one full lap. He went out, and he came right back in. It looks like Rossi.
Yep, Alexander Rossi is out on the wets as well. Yeah, Colton Herta, as you mentioned, he just went past us. We've got a pretty good vantage point here, Davey, out of the booth at Mid-Ohio. Of course, it is a 2+ mile course, and you can't see the whole thing, but we get them pretty much coming out of the carousel and all the way down into turn number 1, but we get them across the finish line here. It's not the starting line. They'll do that over between 3 and 4, but this is still a pretty cool view.
Yeah, great view. Be able to see all the pit action when they're coming in, try to keep track of their strategy for all of our listeners. And Kirkwood, he's the one that's staying out there. He's making more laps than anybody else. You see he's way offline, trying to get out of the rubber, the preferred line, trying to just make some lap time in. And doing a good job just trying to figure, somebody that's not good in the rain, maybe this isn't an advantage for them to go out and just try to cut some laps and try not to make any mistakes.
We see Alexander Rossi now approaching the keyhole and gets the car. The right side's just off the rumble strip to the bottom. Gets it right in the middle of the racetrack, and he wobbles and bobbles a little bit upon exit as he climbs back in through it. So let's see. Alexander Rossi working his way through turn number 3. That's got a bit of a bend to it. I mean, when you look at it on track maps and things of that nature, you think it's a straight shot from the keyhole down the pole, but it is not.
It's a good bend. You definitely, you go through their flat, and you go through a fairly easy flat, but you are definitely put a lot of input in the wheel. And, there's a preferred line through there as well. I mean, if you're on the outside of somebody there, it's a longer distance, no question about it. It's that big of a curve through that turn 3.
And we do want to make mention that with 4 minutes remaining, Race Control has notified the teams that the engine start functionality is now disabled for the remainder of the session. If your car comes to a stop on the track, you won't be able to restart it on your own.
Gotcha, yeah, which doesn't seem like anybody had enough power to really be able to do that anyways.
Right.
And so kind of what we're used to seeing is the safety truck coming out and pulling their starter out and the remote starter and plugging in the back of these cars. So nothing really changes there.
It looks like the 14 of A.J. Foyt and Santino Ferrucci, it looks like they are putting the starter in the rear of that car and getting ready to fire it up. And it looks like the Sexton Property Machines, Davey, is exiting pit road with 3.5 minutes to go.
There could be some strategy here on the rain tires because you always get a set of new rain tires to carry around, and maybe they had some older ones and want to get rid of some.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So a little bit of strategy could go along, just get a couple laps, get some new rain tires for down the road, which not that many more plays, only 2 more road one street course and 1 road course left in the season.
So, again, Palou is your fastest at 67.065. Rossi at 67.509. Then Marcus Armstrong at a 67.544. Colton Herta is 4th fastest at 67.635. McLaughlin is 5th fastest. Then Ray Hall, Award, Rosenquist, Kirkwood, and Will Power the top 10. David Malukas is 11th fastest. Newgarden is 12th. 13th is Kiffin Simpson. 14th is Lundquist. 15th is Siegel, 16th is Grosjean, 17th Lundgaard, 18th Ericsson, 19th Dixon, 20th Fittipaldi, 21st is Sowery, 22nd is Jack Harvey, and 23rd is Renas VK. Santino Ferrucci is 24th. Then Rasmussen, Canapino, and Stingray Rob, Michael Young.
With Pato Award, you look like you had your hands full out there in the wet. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing different to the old Mid-Ohio with the new repave in the wet. It's certainly super, super slippery, but I think we got a decent run in. We got 1 lap on our prime set without traffic, so it's enough for us to be able to go back and see what we need to make better for tomorrow, but I think we're in a good place.
What do you think of the repave overall, that first part of the session? Did you like it?
There's a lot less. There were a lot of very unique bumps that this plate had, and they're gone. So that took a couple laps to get used to, just because you kind of muscle memory, you always expect it. But
you like it, not having those bumps?
No, I mean, it's nice. It's a different challenge. I think bigger now is that we don't quite know if the balance shifts is the 100 pounds extra that we have at the rear, or if it's the track. But there's definitely been a change in balance in the car.
All right, well, we'll find out tomorrow when you have more opportunity to run. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
It's Pato Award, guys.
Yeah, so there was a checklist there that they were going through. With that said, Davey?
Yeah, and we know that extra 105 pounds in the back of these cars, it's definitely going to change the balance of the car. But as he said, hard to know if it was the track which made the balance difference, or if it's the car itself with that extra 100 pounds in the back. Probably a little bit of both, actually. Just trying to muscle memory, as he said, with just changes on this track. But right now, I have to tell you, this place is so slick when it's damp out. A lot of times in the morning, just the the dew on the racetrack and going out early on, sometimes in the two-seater, it's extremely slick. And when rain happens, it is, it's hard to talk yourself into running offline, but you absolutely have to try to get a little bit of grip at all.
So, again, here's the schedule for tomorrow. Indy next practice, session number 2 is set for 9:40 Eastern. And then at 10:50, we'll have our second IndyCar practice session. It'll be interesting to see if series officials will allow those alternates to be used in that session. Then at 2:15, Indy next qualifying. And then at 3 o'clock, IndyCar qualifying, ending in the Firestone Fast 6 to set the field. And again, for Sunday at 10:25, the final warm-up session, all these times Eastern, 11:10, flag-to-flag coverage of the only Indy next race of the season. And then flag-to-flag coverage of the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, presented by the 2025 Civic Hybrid. Join us for pre-race festivities, driver interviews beginning at 1 p.m. with the green flag scheduled for about 38 minutes past the hour or so. And the checkered flag flies, Davey, and Alex Palou, Alexander Rossi, a couple of guys who had good weekends, Colton Herta too, all had good weekends a couple of weeks ago and all appear to be on a bit of a run the second half of the season.
Yeah, some of them a little behind the game right now with like Scott Dixon only getting 10 laps in, but finds himself in 19th. He's gonna need to find some more, obviously, and it's just the good guys are scattered all over. It's going to be interesting to see what tomorrow's practices bring before the qualifying run tomorrow afternoon.
And the rain is as heavy now as it has been, and it ended the session early for some. Again, Palou, Rossi, Armstrong, Herta, and McLaughlin, the top 5. And that'll put the wraps on it for all of us here at Mid-Ohio. Have yourselves a good afternoon and evening, and we will see you tomorrow for the beautiful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
Well, thanks to everyone down there. Let's head down to NBC. George is in the pit lane as well with Marcus Armstrong.
I would say, what was happening inside the cockpit?
Yeah, I had a moment through turn 7. Over the crest, kept it flat and just lost the rear. I thought I caught it, but I didn't, obviously. But obviously with this new hybrid power unit, there's a bit more weight to the rear. I'm not going to pull all the racing driver cards and tell excuses, but yeah, just lost the rear over the crest. It was a bit hit and miss, and yeah, but it's okay, and I think we can still use that set of tires tomorrow, so it's okay.
How valuable would this time be before the rain came?
It was very valuable. I mean, it's a new track surface here. It seems to be pretty grippy and smooth, so I was happy with the car. The car felt really good. Considering there's 105 pounds more weight and quite a rearwards weight distribution, it should have felt a lot more different than it did, but overall I was happy with it, and good potential for tomorrow.
Thanks, Marcus. On to tomorrow.
We are on to tomorrow after we get shortened up a little bit today with the rain. So here's what's in store for Saturday. Another practice.
Well, it looks like everything's done there with the rain coming through at 10:50 a.m. Eastern for practice 2, qualifying 3 p.m. Eastern as well. Sunday warm-up 10:25 Eastern in the morning, and then the race at 1:30 Eastern here on JB Motorsports as well. Thanks for your company. Day 1 ends here at Mid-Ohio. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.